I am not a fan of the Democratic Party. I've been registered as a Democrat because I live in Baltimore City, Maryland, and what would be the point of being something else in my
Hmm.
voting status? However, I firmly believe that taking over the Democratic Party is the best way to achieve the goals I just laid out.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I
about
mean, no argument there.
taxes,
I think
Medicare,
that.
Green New Deal, imperialism, antitrust, unions, and AI, and money in politics.
Elected
Um,
officials, Charlie, have never saved us from anything. All change has come from us, from citizens that
right,
brought it to the legislature, to brought it to elected officials, and faced with that,
right.
they had to do it. So I agree we have to take because right now the Democrats are merely not the Republicans. They're not Trump.
Right.
And it's an absolute disgrace. I mean, we're going to have a chat go up this week. We talked to a union organizer. They don't go. He doesn't even go to the NLBR anymore. I mean, um,
No.
it's everything is just so horrible right now. And laws don't mean anything. Constitution doesn't mean anything. To fight this war, Trump is eroding further into our health care. He took away
Yeah.
the veterans homeowner mortgage insurance, where what is it, 10,000 veterans lost their homes. He is just eroding every part of our lives. And I think you made a very good point that he doesn't mind the gas prices going up because he thinks he can get a piece of it. But it's also a diversion. I mean, when he launched the war, the searches online for Epstein came down. So I
Right.
agree with you that the Democratic Party may be the horse we ride, but we're going to have to train it, feed it, put a saddle on it,
Well, we got to change its diet. That's
and
the big
change
thing.
its diet, and just not let it run off places. We've got to, so it
Right.
has to come from us. We have to have effective protest, effective unity. And you put together a very good list of issues that intersect, and we have to make it clear that if you
Right.
believe in this or you believe in that, just everyone, all 99% of us need to come together.
So now, you know, the government needs to start building these systems without privatization and the corruption, the attendant corruption. Uh, we need to restore manufacturing capacity. We obviously, um, I'm not saying that the U.S. has to be the most powerful country in the world and dominate this and that, but every country needs some kind of um, autonomy, economic autonomy to be able to feed itself, etc. Uh, and we've given that away because financialism and neoliberalism took over, and the search for lower wages in the global South won out. Um, so it has to be, in my view, by government, with government employees, and for the people. And the movement that takes over the Democratic Party, the People's Movement, has to make sure, has to hold it in check so that the
Hmm.
government systems that are built don't go off on their own and become corrupt too. There's a gentleman named Corbin Trent, who was one of the founders of Justice Democrats, who raised money to their first victory was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and they have the squad, and they have about 9 or 10 members in Congress now, and overall, those people are way more progressive than Ro Khanna and Jayapal and Summerlee of Pittsburgh. Um, but what he's saying is it's still not enough because even when they win, they get there and they're isolated. And he's got starting a new group called A Fight Worth Having. I urge people to look it up. A Fight Worth
Hmm.
Having. Creating a block of progressive candidates and office holders who pledge to work and vote together for this agenda. Okay, so that once they get in there, and in a way, you can look at I guess the um, far right Republicans call it the Freedom Caucus. You can see how they operate and leverage their unity to uh, boss around the Republican Speaker of the House on many different occasions.
Charlie, I worked in Congress, and the whole system is the bigger enemy than even money, than even lobbyists, than even a majority party, just getting things through. And you know, they get there and they disappear, and not out of not wanting to. And
Right.
and we're running short on time, and I want to get to voting, because if we can't
Okay. We're
vote,
there.
we cannot vote, then we can't get these people in. And these people, right now Maryland is
Mhm.
considered a blue state, very light blue, but progressives are shut out in the Maryland legislature, and they are shut out in the Congress. They're isolated. And so, first of all, they want to take away our vote because they're telling us they do. And second of all, again, there are employees, they're doing a terrible job. The Democrats haven't shown us they can do anything. We have got to make the changes ourselves. I'm sorry, this is my opinion. We have got to go out there and demand change, and then obviously have a receptive, elected bodies. But I am very worried about people that are browner than me voting. I'm very worried about people in red states voting.
You're worried that they will be prevented from voting
Yes.
by the Republican effort to MAGA effort to undermine the election. And that is a very, so we have developed,
As we get more desperate, right? As all these walls begin to close in, we've seen how unpopular Trump is and everything,
right.
and increasingly so, right? Any sense that there might eventually be accountability is going to be, met with increasingly desperate efforts to prevent that.
Right. So despite the fact that I've laid out, progressive goals and a strategy for that, we have immediate challenges that demand our attention right now. And one of the most important is to protect the election. So a group of smart people, citizen activists, and I have laid out 23 distinct threats to the election and what can be done about it. And we need to get people starting to volunteer to be poll watchers, either by being a poll worker inside the polls on election day or in early voting, or by coming to stand outside the poll and make sure that people have free passage. And if ICE or other federal obstructors show up, we need to be ready. I don't think our state law, our elected officials are as yet ready to cope with this. So we need to engage with Governor Moore and Attorney General Brown uh, and the Board of Elections people. Now, there is a group called Everyone Votes in Maryland, a coalition of League of Women Voters and PERG and Common Cause, and we're going to be working with them. I mean, they've got staff and funds and they've got a good fund of knowledge um,
Hmm.
to deal with this, but we've got to get people working together. The other thing we might do is mobilize to help other states that face a bigger challenge than Maryland does. And in 2020, um, a coalition that I put together called For the People. And it was 2022, excuse me, did intervene in funnel volunteers to phone bank and do some other tasks in Nevada and Arizona. And as a result, 5 out of 6 they were Democrats, and they weren't necessarily progressive Democrats, but they were non-Republicans. 5 out of 6 got elected. One of them, Adrian Fontes, who's the Secretary of State, so he's in charge of the voting apparatus in Arizona, really has been a leader, uh, doing good things and making people aware of the challenges. Um,
Charlie, I have a pet peeve. Um, First of all, when the Texas primary happened, there were issues in Dallas, which was, Jasmine Crockett's home base. So
yeah,
the lead of the story should have been because of requests by the GOP, problems arose in certain polling places, and that was buried. And so it sounded like almost like it was happening with the Democratic Party. And I don't know what changes they asked for. And I'm going to be kind and say maybe these were unexpected results, but there were problems. And luckily, her opponent won by enough points that, it wasn't contested. But every article should start by saying, because of what the GOP did, or because of these machinations, or even though Trump voted by mail for his state representative, she's a Democrat,
yeah,
and
but
he wants to close it down.
he explained that he's a busy guy. To,
Uh,
that's why. But
He's busy.
um, in Georgia, um, I was asking myself and some other people why the let the FBI take the voting records when they did that raid,
Hmm.
um, and why weren't there state police there protecting that warehouse with the voting records? And how do we know what the FBI is going to do with those voting records? I mean, you've lost the only evidence you have. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about the result of that election. There were two machine recounts and a hand recount that all confirmed that the original results as announced were the right results. Um, but nevertheless, now you don't have the proof, which
Hmm.
is the paper ballots. So,
Also, they're learning. They're learning.
but what I've learned is that the under Georgia law, the state election apparatus can come in and push aside the Fulton County, which is Democrat dominated election officials. So you have that in where there's a state with a Republican state government. Local governments are always subordinate to state governments, and so I mean they're just.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean it will be fair or right, and maybe court challenges could prevent some of this. Uh, but on a national scale, there is a dizzying number of possibilities for chicanery. The other things we have to do that are immediate challenges is
Hmm.
uh, to defeat this war, uh, to defeat Schumer and Jeffrey's wing of the Democratic Party by tying them to AIPAC, Wall Street, and gutlessness. Well, they're already tied to gutlessness. Um,
That just seems
Excuse
in
me,
there,
Charlie.
in there.
Excuse me. Schumer wrote a strongly written letter. So how can you? I just want to
okay.
say that
Uh,
again, going back to the apparatus of Congress, in many ways, Mitch McConnell was more effective as minority leader. He could play the apparatus, the like a fine violin, and he
mhm.
was equally effective as minority leader as he was as majority leader. And
In addition to all the other stuff about money and politics and Wall Street and Schumer being from New York and all that, Schumer is in difficult position because, a key wedge issue within the Democratic Party is Israel and APAC, and he's traditionally been on the pro-Israel side, and that's not helpful now to win national elections.
But that had nothing to do with Venezuela. It has nothing to do with Cuba. It is, I mean, he has dropped the ball across the board.
And it wouldn't be piling on to mention why Joe Biden didn't restore the Iran agreement and didn't restore the Cuba agreement
Didn't
and a million other things.
didn't release the Epstein files, which is why I'm a little concerned about the horse that we're riding to victory
So the
here.
point is we have to take it over. We have to be in charge. I mean the new chairman, Ken Martin, is that his name?
Yeah,
He's got to go. I mean, he's absolutely horrible. They have this so-called autopsy as to why they lost the presidential election in 2024 that they swore and promised up and down that they would release, and now they won't release it because it says obvious shit that they don't like. We know what it says, but they won't release it. And what kind of lack of, I mean, how can you have the courage to run a country in this dangerous world we're in and deal with, you know, separating yourself from the billionaires if you're that kind of chicken? Um, and I would put Trump's impoundment of funds as another immediate challenge. If he can take, you know, if he can uh, stop the voice of America, which I don't even know is a good thing, but just take all that money and spend it on something else. Now, a court recently said he can't do that, but are they actually going to make him not do it?
of course. The Department
Somebody's got to actually make him not do it. And
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 no one's doing that. The Department of Justice, before Bondi was booted out, they seized $9 billion in cyber money from some sort of scam, I think, in Cambodia, and they're keeping it. They're not, lawyers got all excited because they were representing the victims, and they started writing letters, and they're not releasing it. So they're seizing
you're
money.
saying that it's supposed to be returned to the people who were scammed.
Yes, and DOJ is sitting on it. Um, I mean,
Mm,
and we just learned about that. So how many other scenarios are that where they're seizing
right.
money and as
Creating
again,
giant slush
jamais
funds,
vu.
basically.
Well, that's not impoundment, but it is of a kindred spirit. And of course, pressure the courts and corporations with strikes and boycotts. So there we get to the boycotts, which is your
Hmm.
specialty. I wanted to mention, if I may, a few um, information sources that I would commend to people.
Hmm.
Uh, Drop Site News and Breaking Points. And I just think Ryan Grimm is the best journalist in America right now. Um, Democracy Now, of course, Popular Information by Judd Legum that breaks a lot of stories during the year. Um, Yanis Varoufakis, the former uh, finance minister of Greece.
Finance Minister of Greece. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeffrey Sachs, uh, a professor at Columbia and an official of the UN development apparatus. The American Prospect, David Dayen is one of the main editors, but they have a staff of very, very good writers that's more focused on domestic. Some of these ones I've named are more focused on foreign policy and world affairs. And then regarding this war, a guy named Professor Robert Pape, who's actually an
Hmm.
expert on air war and strategy, uh, and who was saying, like on day 4 or 5, the U.S. is going to lose this war, and here's why, and has really nailed pretty much every prediction he made.
We're
And
gonna
then I write
okay.
a newsletter, and it doesn't have a regular schedule. but it's a distillation of news, and maybe it'll have some things that people missed. It's called Fight Fascism and Corruption by Charlie Cooper. And
Oh,
if anyone's interested, they should send you all a message and you can give me their email addresses.
we will absolutely include that link. But may I add also, Kyle Kalinske has an excellent YouTube channel. Sometimes his verbiage is a little raw. It's sort of um, but he's been doing this for 14, 15 years since he's literally a teenager, and he is as progressive as they come. Also, the Majority Report, I think, does a very good job. Jacob, anyone else you want to add?
I mean, I think that those were all those were all. I mean, I think if you're looking for daily podcasts, people like the Majority Report as well for more progressive views. But I think that for actual raw news coverage, as you were saying, drop site news, popular information, things like that are very good. And Robert Pape, as you're talking about specifically for understanding the Iran war, I have just
Right.
been seeing as we've been talking that apparently there has been a 2 week ceasefire, maybe reached. Um, According to Trump, that it looks like, uh,
That's what Trump says.
apparently, yeah, and with potentially China having leaned on Iran in order to diffuse tensions. It's unclear. It looks like the ceasefire is being based around the starting points of Iran's 10 points, proposal, which means that's another confirmation again, as Robert Pape was saying, that America has lost this war. So hopefully we end up hopefully we do end up avoiding any of that catastrophe. By the time anyone ends up seeing this, and that a lot of the activity around our voting will still be taking place in a world that is not uh, under nuclear fire, even if it's under
So the
natural fire from
possibility is
climate change.
it, the possibility is that only Trump is agreeing to the 2 week ceasefire, or
Other sources look like it's saying that the new Ayatollah did um, did agree to the ceasefire after frantic last minute work by Pakistan and China in order
and
to
China.
lean
Very
on
interesting
them
because
to diffuse
I thought it
tension.
was Pakistan, Turkey, and
Yeah,
was it
apparently
Egypt or
back
Turkey?
channels of China asked them to basically
Yeah.
don't blow up the whole world right
Who
now.
would believe who would believe Trump at this point, though? I
Right.
mean,
But I didn't see Israel notably within that. And
Yeah.
also, this makes it very clear, like who knows exactly where this goes, but we are very much seeing the world, the global order be rewritten in real time. Hopefully, some of that energy around changing how the world order is working can, trickle down, and we can end up using some of that momentum, not through bombs, but through voting to actually change how our own system, is
and,
working. So,
and
uh,
organizing.
in
and
Oregon.
organizing, yes, organizing people constantly, voting, and of course, joining together in economic solidarity each Tuesday. So, we want to thank you, Charlie, so much for
Okay.
joining us,
Thanks
for
for all the
talking
work you
today
guys
about,
do.
yeah, and really appreciate you all, and thank you. Until next time, don't shop on Tuesday.
All right.
Thank you.